The night before Thanksgiving, 1971. A man in a dark suit, black tie, shoes polished honest by airport light. He boards Northwest Orient Flight 305, a short hop between Portland and Seattle. A thin briefcase in hand, a courtesy left on his face. He orders a bourbon and 7-Up, and sets a neatly folded note on the tray like a small invitation sent into the dark. I have a bomb. The sentence doesn't arrive as wind, it arrives as print. But when the aft stairs of a Boeing 727 lower into the rain, the letters begin to weigh something. Up there is no camera and no frame. Only a strange shudder at 8:13 p.m., and then a vacancy. He calls himself Dan Cooper. The papers misread him into D.B. Cooper. A wrong name, perfect myth. That night, as cabin lights change hue and the crew alters course, he adjusts the weight of the question. If a man can vanish in open air, how many pounds does truth actually weigh? You're listening to the Vanishing Skyjacker, where the sky owns no cameras but keeps a long memory, a quiet thump at 8:13 and a black tie left behind. The file doesn't open with paper, it opens with condensation on glass. November 24th, 1971. Flight 305, Boeing 727, seat 18C. A man so polite, he makes fear sit up straight. He hands the attendant a note and lowers his voice. You should read it. Inside, a shopping list for a sunset engineered to his liking. $200,000 in 20s, 4 parachutes, refuel in Seattle, then continue with the aft stairs down. It isn't improvisation. It's a screenplay. A screenplay written for the rare airplane with an aft stairway, a ramp that drops from the tail's belly into darkness, operable in midair. Imagine a deliberately forgotten prop, the black tie. It stays behind like a milestone of impermanence, soaking smoke, catching metallic dust, speaking no names. From small things, tie, bourbon, note, we pull back to the wide era, a time when skyjacking wasn't rare, but disappearing into the sky was one of one. He doesn't shout. He doesn't twitch. Requests move through the air like orders at a quiet bar. Money, shoots, fuel, flight profile. The crew complies, not out of panic, but out of tradecraft. Keep the night calm so time doesn't break. Below, police and the FBI race by wheel, by telephone, by sweat collecting beneath collars. Up here, politeness becomes a weapon, tricking everyone into believing there's one spare minute left. Every case keeps time in its own rhythm. Cooper's rhythm is a metronome. Tick-tock, never hurrying, never flinching. The jet kisses Seattle. On the runway, sodium lamps smear gold over water like a school of fish swimming against rain. $200,000 arrive. Brown papered, serial numbers carefully recorded. 4 parachutes, too many for a joke, too few for mercy. Passengers disembark, the essential crew remains. The man trades money and shoots for the right to continue. No one hears a laugh. No one notices a sparkle. Only the plan moves into Act 2. A low sky, a slow speed, stares down. The paper says Mexico City. The man needs only a piece of night large enough to swallow a person. This isn't tourism, it's a field exam between a man and a 727. Cooper's demands: altitude near 10,000 feet, slow airspeed, close to stall margin but safe, gear down, flaps deployed, aft stairs open. It sounds inelegant. Why should a steel bird fly out of posture? Because that posture reduces pressure differential, reduces speed, and allows one body to leave a moving world with a better chance of staying alive. Wind builds. On the 727, the aft stairway is a hinter gate, a tilted plate to the slipstream, usable independent of forward doors. In that era, it was also a gap Cooper turns into a path. Engineering is the grammar he uses to write a run-on sentence away from history. In the cockpit, Needles quiver like eyelids under heavy sleep. At the tail, an instrument senses a load change, a short, odd bump, 8:13 p.m. Latch clack, air rushing through a metal frame, a phantom hiss of webbing. No smoke, no fireworks, no goodbye. Only a pocket of air contract, then open. He is gone. From that second on, the case deplanes into forest, river, and time. Morning. Washington evergreens knit a green rug, each tree a needle pointing at a question mark. Fighter escorts from the night report. No parachute seen. Ground witnesses, some heard a sound, others didn't. The case. Place me between. Every serial number of the $200,000 is scored like notes for a future orchestra. Air search, ground sweep, riverside combing, near, far, cross-patterned to wind and rain. Everything looks into a fogged mirror. A silhouette appears, a face won't. When finding fails, you learn to listen for things that refuse to make noise. Years later, on the sands of Tennebar along the Columbia River, a boy digs and brings up rotted bundles of cash. Serial numbers match the list. The sky somehow returns a fragment, but the fragment is a wet stamp, legible, blurred, argumentative. How did that money arrive? Did Cooper camp a bank of earth and lose it to water? Did the current ferry it from some unknown shore? Or is this a collaboration between gravity and weather? Whatever the answer, the case practices a high art, giving you enough to believe, too little to conclude. Back in the cabin sits the black tie, a night watchman with no voice. Under a scope, microparticles of metal, smoke stains, the dust of some industrial life. Was he someone who stood near production lines, near titanium or aluminum? A technician, a mechanic, a man who spent time close to flight without necessarily wearing wings? These traces speak in the present perfect. They don't say who, but they whisper has been. Has been opens a hallway of maybe rooms. If the tie is the voice of the cabin, the wind is the voice of the sky. We add a third voice, psychology. Choose a holiday, fewer eyes, easier quiet negotiation. Choose the 737, it has aft stairs. Choose low and slow, reduce decompression risk, increase survivability. He doesn't arrive to destroy, he arrives to pass through. His politeness is a leather glove hiding a metal knuckle. Some crimes speak with violence. He speaks with design. But any design, no matter how clever, must negotiate with nature. That night is rain, wind, cold biting like pins. Below, evergreen, hills, river. Above, 2 escorts and yet no white umbrella of silk reported. If you are Cooper, webbing scratches your palms. The cash bundle weighs like a decision. You measure wind by face, not by instrument. The first fall is a fall out of human systems. The second is a fall into atmosphere. Nature's favorite hobby is revision. Humanity's favorite hope is survival. Between those hobbies, money chooses Tennebar to tell half a paragraph. The pessimists, he died in timber, weather, terrain, a mismatched chute, a dragging bankroll pulling his axis wrong. The optimists, he lived, slid into the quiet margin, spent like a ghost, or shelved it like a totem. Evidence for survival, a clever plan, choosing the 77 on purpose, unnerving calm. Evidence for death, no large flow of matched serials later, night, cold rain, no chute sighted. Truth may stand on the center line, survived but injured, survived and destroyed evidence, survived and fled the map. Each hypothesis is a straw mannequin tied to fishing line. Tug it and it moves. The man refuses to arrive. Debates swirl about which chute, sport and newer or older and tough, and how the money was lashed so it didn't become an anchor. In darkness, a small choice can magnify risk like a mirror. Cash is the exposed part of the iceberg, but the lashings, wrappings, and wear, that's underwater, deciding the tempo of the fall. And that tempo, when mixed with a river, curates Tenabar, a gallery of incompletions. Imagine the river's laboratory. Paper swells, sloves, adheres into cakes. Ink fades, bleeds, changes dialect. Twine rots like a story retold too often. Science reads the pattern of rot to guess age of truth. But silt keeps bad company. It hides co-conspirators. Wind, humidity, bank collapse, human hands. Thus, Tenabar is a free verse stanza. Suggestive, haunted, unpledged. When money says half a sentence, we go back to listen for metal. The aft stairs. If the aft stairs could talk, they'd describe the vibration when weight leaves. They'd recall a man who trusted mechanism more than fortune. And the moment wind slapped metal, a hand on the back. Go. After the case, aviation plugs this loophole. Hardware and procedures to deny mid-air deployment, a valve fitted by hindsight. 1.2. Every hole gets a patch. Patches don't erase seams. Myth: DB Cooper is a tuxedo rogue, smirking as he leaps. Fact: he is calm, disciplined, technical, not ostentatious. Myth: he burned bills like fireworks. Records show no massive post-crime circulation of matched serials. Myth: he was an elite spy. Fact: a smart plan doesn't certify a superhuman life. Often it's merely one person who spotted a soft hinge in a system. Myth needs fill light to look good. Truth needs shadow to stand up. Afternoon, Nov 24th, 1971, Portland. Boards, seat 18C, orders bourbon plus 7 up, passes note, I have a bomb, and lists demands. Seattle, jet lands, $200,000 plus 4 chutes delivered, passengers off, refuel. Second takeoff, night, paper destination Mexico City, practical plan, low, slow, aft stairs open. 0 p.m., the bump, a tail event in pressure load, probable jump moment. Late night, safe landing at Reno for inspection, Cooper is not aboard. Years later, Tenabar yields decayed bundles with matching serials. The timeline runs straight, the truth meanders. Between these geometries lives the human. Take 18C. Buckle in, lay the briefcase on your thighs. Sip bourbon, warm your throat with borrowed calm. You know you're bargaining with history using mechanics. You know rain is an accomplice, wind a navigator, night the ink. You recite your requests like a catechism. At 8:13, you don't speak to people. You speak to air. And the air answers with a push. Mask off. Back to narrator. The case soldered shut a gap. Aft stairs are no longer an exit to the sky. Security hardens. Procedures update. Lessons go into manuals. DB Cooper becomes a proper noun for a naive air age. A time when skies could still be negotiated by note and demeanor. The name may be wrong. The lesson sticks. We don't forget because there's no ending. The story has a clean entrance, a tight middle, but the final page is blank. And blankness is the device that bolts a tale to memory. Noir isn't merely light against shadow. It's the philosophy of the missing piece, what forces us to finish it ourselves. Every rainstorm, the sky rereads 1971 in baritone. Try drawing a map in sound. The engine drone is a line. The 813 bump is a dash. Wind is an arrow without a head, all shaft. On that map, Tenabar is a question mark bigger than text. Reno is a period, correct location, wrong person. When the sound map's drawn, return to human voices. The tie says, I stayed so people would have something to look at, not something to know. The cache says, I stayed too, but in pieces, so each scrap could be an implication. The stairs say, I dropped once to raise a legend. The wind doesn't talk. It pushes. Together, they form the story's soul. Dan becomes DB, an editorial slip that titles a myth. Sometimes public speech is the architect of memory. It chooses sticky syllables, a handy beat, and frames a saga with a name. A name is the overture. Rhythm keeps the audience. I ask you, if you were Cooper, would you jump into a rainy night? You answer with silence, because the question isn't would you jump, it's what would you be jumping for. Some jump to escape. Some jump to define themselves. If Cooper is a storyteller, he jumps to write a story in negative space. That's why the night keeps glowing beneath old rain. Open endings are mirrors. Anyone who looks finds a piece of themselves. Lovers of freedom see freedom. Fears of chaos see judgment. Fans of craft see design. D.B. Cooper is thus an opt-in icon. He receives the meaning the viewer brings. Noir stops being style, it becomes mirror. When the music lands its last note, don't cut immediately. Let 2 seconds of air remain. Space for the audience to complete their part. Because this case is most beautiful not where it speaks, but where it withholds. From withholding, we close with a free verse. Return to the first frame. An empty seat, a black tie, a half-drunk bourbon. At the top of the stairs, the wind still tastes 1971 rain. By the riverbank, sand still dreams of being envelopes. Between them, a person writes his name in blank air. If you ask, is Cooper alive? I'll say, his legend is, because it uses the sky's native specialty, to leave no footprints. If you ask, what does the money say? I'll say, money speaks in cereals, the river supplies the rhyme. If you ask, what did we learn? That sometimes politeness is the finest overcoat for audacity. This has been D.B. Cooper, the Vanishing Skyjacker, a weightless case in open air. If you want the next file, jump zone maps, weather breakdown, suspect grids and debates, stay with Veil Files, Hosa Chudong. Because every night rains, but no two falls are the same.